Hey YouTube, this is Heiko reporting from my garage. I'm working on a transmission. It's my first transmission build. This comes out of my F-150 1989. It was already not the stock transmission anymore. It was already a rebuild done by TCI, which are pretty well known in the aftermarket auto parts industry kind of thing. And as I had to find out, they did a pretty bad job on rebuilding this. My Ford is a 1989. This transmission case here is was cast in 1985, and the valve body that I had in here was a pre 1976, which doesn't mix because the valve body had a couple improvements over the years. And if you have a later model C6, you also need a later model valve body. Apparently TCI didn't care. They slapped an old one on there, and a lot of things went wrong with this transmission. My forward clutch drum completely came apart. And then the forward clutch piston had a crack in it. And as a result of the forward clutch drum coming apart, lots of little metal particles were floating around. It was almost like metal, like when my kids play with sparkle. No, not sparkle. What is it? Glitter. So that kind of fine metal shavings inside my transmission and went everywhere, of course, especially in the valve body. And inside the old valve body that I had in here, a lot of the little valves were actually seized up, and that probably just aggravated the whole cracking, coming apart situation. So I stripped it all down, took all the clutches, everything out, replaced all the parts that I could replace. Got a new forward clutch drum, a new forward clutch piston. Also, the forward planetary gear set is new. Had new bushings pressed into this, into the stator, into the pump, into the tail housing that's still missing here. Bunch of bushings were installed here. I didn't do that. I had to hire someone to do it because I don't have a hydraulic press at home. New gaskets, new O-rings, new everything, and then I followed some instruction manuals to put it back together. Lots of conflicting information floating around on the internet. In some of those clutches, you have to have a wavy washer, kind of a spring washer. Some say put it in, some say don't put it in, some say put 4 friction clutches in there, some say put 5 in there, how to put it together. So I had to wing it a little bit. I just followed my instinct. I followed how it was put together beforehand, kind of tried to imitate that, tried to get all the play and the play in the system here all lined up properly. And yeah, let's hope that it lasts a little while. I'll slap the rest together. Only thing that's missing is the governor. Goes here on the output shaft right there. And then pretty much this little piece of housing here. And then we're done. On Monday, I will install this into my F-150. Dump a bunch of fresh fluid in there. Run it. What I also did, and what I recommend everyone to do when you replace your transmission, flush out the transmission oil cooler. Transmission oil cooler is a place with lots of little tubing and whatnot, and that's where a lot of the metal particles out of your transmission go and get stuck. So if you had a transmission go bad and you're putting a new one in, make sure you flush it out. At AutoZone, they sell a spray can with a specific solvent that loosens everything up and then washes it out. And then I also used some compressed air and just blew through the lines. And then in addition to that, I bought an inline transmission fluid filter. Bought it at Napa Auto Parts, and you just have to find a good place in the return line. So from the transmission to the oil cooler, through the oil cooler, and then back to the transmission. In that back line, you want to put that filter. So everything that comes back from the oil cooler gets filtered. And then, of course, fresh filter in here. You know, I mean, everything is fresh in here. Every gasket, every O-ring, every bushing, every clutch, every friction band that's somewhere down there, everything. Lots of lube. I recommend this here. It's Assembly Goo. I bought 2 different types. One is with light tack, and the green one is with really strong tack. This is like almost like glue, firm tack they call it. So you put a thrust washer or a bearing onto the next part, it stays there. It doesn't come off. And this stuff is specifically made for transmission assembly. So when you fill the transmission with transmission fluid, this pretty much just dissolves in the transmission fluid. Oh yeah, don't forget to soak your friction plates. This here is an old friction. They're also actually still pretty good. No, it's kind of a waste. But, you know, when you're in there, you want to do everything new. Soak them in transmission fluid first, 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, just so that they are oiled already. So you're starting this up and you're not burning them up right away. Yeah, that's the progress. Monday, I will slap this back into the Ford. I already replaced the hanger bearing on the drive shaft for the rear axle. Going to the rear axle, and I put some new U-joints in there. I put a new rear main seal on the engine block. So once this goes back in, it should be good. Maybe I'll make a video on Monday after filling it with transmission fluid, the first startup. We'll see what happens. Let's hope it doesn't make any funny noises. Alright guys, I hope you like those videos. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Take care.